Hello everybody, my name is Steve. If I had to, somebody had asked me before if I was going to make this video, I would have probably said no. But it took a really good friend to really kind of show me the purpose of what I should not be afraid of. So for the longest time in my life, I was made fun of as a child. This is because you may or may not notice if you take a close look at my face, which I've tried to ignore for so long. And it took me a lot of pain, a lot of years of trials, and just overcoming and finding self-esteem and finding confidence, and putting my faith in the Lord Jesus Christ, of course, that really helped me pull through this. But this is kind of a testimony, if you would, for people who may be going through the same experience or maybe going through pain and trials. I was born with a cleft palate. And what that means is your nose and your lips are connected together like this in one, just together. So it's a pretty rough road. I've watched a lot of videos online and I've read stories about people and the sadness. And there's been more severe cases than mine where it's been very detrimental for the parents and just the siblings and people, going through this. And my heart goes out to you. But like I said, I was in that journey. I walked in your shoes, and I lived a really good, life for the most part. Even, went all the way through college, got my degree in computer science. There's no limitations to what you can do when you really get past these trials in life. So to kind of backtrack to my story, I was born in Akron, Ohio, with a family, of two brothers, two sisters. I was raised with my two brothers and my one little sister. But for the longest time in my life, I didn't know my purpose in the world. But I know that most of my life was spent in hospitals, going through these trials. And as I was younger, when I was just a baby, that's when they began the procedure. And they started, the slowly separation of the nose and the lips. That's kind of where it goes in contrast to that. And I worked with a great physician in those days that was through the Crippled Children's Fund. I don't know if it still exists anymore, but that's the name of it that my parents had me under. And this allowed my parents to have me hospitalized and have these surgeries done to correct the procedure, like a separation of the nose and just trying to work through the whole thing. So during those years, I had, go through many trials of surgeries and just, constant bashing by people. What I've come to learn in the long run, really, to be honest with you, is everybody has their own little demons they struggle with. They have their own little trials. It's not so much what's on your face. It's so much a matter of what's in your heart, and how you perceive things in the world. It's going to determine where you're going. So I don't let that try to stand in my way. I've always been an optimist no matter what. A little bit wired as a child, but, pretty much didn't try to let people get me down so much, but rather tried to support people as much as I could and try to see past the differences of who we are. I mean, there's people go through way more trials. If you look up some things online, there's actually a really great story of a conjoined twins, and there's a lot of great stories. There's actually these two sisters that are conjoined head to head. Imagine just having two heads side by side, yet they live a full life and everything. So you can't let things stop. You can't let obstacles stand in your way. It shouldn't matter about your skin color and anything in general. It's a matter of who you are and character. That's what changes everything. And of course, when God's at the center as a Christian, I have to confess, that's where I find stability in everything. So I wanted to kind of, go into the story a little bit with you. And, Mom, I love you. And my dad, he had passed away. My stepfather took care of me for so long. Love you too, Dad. So much thank you for getting me through these trials and just helping me to discover who I am as a person, because without this I probably would have just ended up nowhere. Who knows? A lot of people go through trials, and it's the journey you have to take. The hardest part I wanted to kind of point out to your parents is it's not gonna be easy. I just want to be honest and straight point with you. It wasn't easy for me. I had people come up to me, and there was one kid, I remember in my neighborhood, I'll never forget him as long as I live. And to this day, I wish the best on him, and I hope he's doing well. But he used to always call me Plug Nose, Plug Nose. He would never call me by my name. And I know that hurt my feelings at the time. I didn't understand what was really going on. It would only take me many years in later life as I encountered more and more people, and I realized these were unsafe people, essentially. I didn't realize as a child he was an unsafe person. He was probably going through his own trials, and I know he was a pretty hyperactive child, as I was too. And I just remember his name was Ronnie. I'll never forget his name as long as I live. We even had little fights and, spouts and stuff like that as kids. We were just, heck, I was only probably like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years old at the time when I knew him, when I was living off the streets in Akron, Ohio. So, like I said, through your parents, you're going to go through a lot of procedures in the hospitals. You're going to spend a lot of time with physicians. You're going to spend a lot of time in speech therapy. I cannot tell you, that is one of the biggest things to get through. And the hardest thing is trying to pronunciate your speech, because trying to go through these journeys, and as they're correcting the procedure, they're changing things with your mouth, face, or whatever. It's going to be hard to communicate and try to get sound words out, because I remember when I was a child that they used to take this little piece of paper and hold it under my nose, and that was just trying to teach me how to pronunciate words and how to, control my speech and the rhythm of how I was speaking. So those things are important, but like I said, the most important thing is really trying to endure it and accept it. Acceptance is really hard. It's not easy to accept a lot of things in life. I mean, this is just one of the trials, but accepting yourself as a person. If you can't accept yourself as a person, you feel like you don't fit in life. And I could tell you people who were like that and didn't feel like they fit or belonged, and they checked out early. It's sad, but you got to find who you are in life. You got to discover who you are. As a Christian, I know my place with the Lord, and I'm secure in that. But even if you're not religious or whatever, you still have to find who you are as a person and where you connect to life. This is the biggest trial of what we go through in life. If I could teach anything, it's the one thing is to really find who you are. That is so important. If you don't discover who you are, you're just going to be going circles, or you might end up on the streets. Who knows? So anyways, like I said, you parents, you're going to go through a lot. You're going to work with physicians. I can't tell you how many times I went to this place called the Litchfield Clinic. I'll never forget that place as long as I live, because I was there, oh my goodness, probably, I'd say more than 2 or 3 times a week if I can recall. It was like right in the heart of downtown Akron, Ohio there. I don't know if it's still there. It was right off of where City Hospital is there. So if anybody's going through this and they're in City Hospital, Children's Hospital, excuse me, my heart goes out to you. I can remember many nights being in the hospital and just staring up at the window as my parents were walking away and they had to go back to their lives. And I can remember crying, thinking that this is a lonely world. I was like, here I am, I'm stuck between these walls in a hospital and I can't leave because I'm hospitalized. But, there's many journeys in life you're going to go through. But I just remember those moments. Those were the moments of strength. I didn't realize it, but I do now. Those are moments of character. Those are the moments of really helping you hang on to the toughest and hardest times in your life. My parents were wonderful. I remember one time when I was younger, my mom gave me the story. I think I can remember it happening very vividly, and maybe some small aspects. But for some reason, I was playing around on a banister. We had this banister that kind of went upstairs halfway, and it overlooked, so there was kind of an opening in the front part of it. And I don't know, I was playing with my sister. I think I was trying to do one to stick in my head in between, like the posts and stuff like that. And it wasn't my head got stuck. You've probably heard stories of that. But what happened is instead, I fell over the banister. I must have been, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6, but I remember the fall. I remember how scary it was. I thought I would be dead, and I landed. And then my mom said, he immediately grabbed me, picked me up, because I guess I was crying or whatever, and he ran me to the hospital, and make sure everything was okay. So thank you, Dad, for standing, even though you're not with me anymore. Thank you so much, from heaven above, and just thank you for who you were as a person and how you really stood by. And he had spent so much money on my procedures. I used to wear, kind of fast forward here a little bit, when I was in high school, and actually not even high school, in grade school, I used to wear like a plate, I guess they call it a palate, in my mouth to kind of like fill myself out for front teeth and stuff like that. Because, they wanted me to feel like I could have a natural, normal life, And plus, it would help me ignore my nose more, My nose isn't this way now because of the surgery. It's there because I had broken my nose when I was in my 20s. I was working with my brother as a laborer, and he ran a he was a subcontractor. He ran his own business, and I fell 3 stories off the top of a roof, and a power saw came down and hit me in the face. So it broke my nose, and it basically pushed it over more. I mean, my nose has kind of always been bent down at the lower part, but it really just kind of bent the top part. You know, I don't know which way it is, but you know, it bent it. You know, and I never got hospitalized for that. I know I should have, but I was practically unemployed at the time. But the stories and trials you're going to go through, they're very real. I'd like to hear your stories. Throw them in the comments. I'm going to show you a picture, if I may here, just for a minute, of what I look like as a baby. So maybe I'll have to put it on the computer, but if you can see it, that's me right there as a young baby. And you see, I think my nose looked pretty normal there, better than it looks now. You can see kind of the lip part where they were playing, you know, the surgery of the lip. I'm not a physician or anything, so I can't really speak about, you know, how the whole procedure goes. I just wanted to share that with you and just let you know I lived a normal life, you know, in many ways. I now work in tech support. You know, I have a great job, I think, you know, for the most part. I do a little bit of web design on the side and stuff like that. On another note, I have a Commodore 64 channel. I run it. I haven't been maintaining it so much anymore. I used to do a lot of karaoke, a lot of singing and stuff like that. I haven't been doing it so much anymore, but I used to do it a lot, you know. So what I'm trying to say is life goes on and on, you know. Just because you have one thing, you're born with one thing, or whatever your situation is, life goes on. So just to kind of let you know some of the other things I've done, I guess probably because of the way, you know, things I've been through and what I've learned in life. For a short time there in my life, I was led to work for special needs ministry. It was a friend of mine, I remember, who told me about it. He wasn't even trying to tell me about the special needs, but he was standing outside in Arizona at the Scottsdale Bible Church, and he was like, you know, he's young, he's single like I am, and he's like, hey, Steve, you know what? I was standing outside, and there's a lot of cute girls around here. I was like, where are you at right now? He says, I'm in Scottsdale. I'm standing outside of, like, it's a special needs, you know, for, you know, special needs children. I said, oh, really? Tell me more about it. But he was more interested in the aspect of these girls, but I really wanted to know more about what was going on inside those doors. So much later, of course, I went to the church and I visited, and I met with the instructor, the director at the time, Amy, and I got into the group and got to meet these wonderful kids. I just remember instantly you go to sit down, and they're like sitting in these small chairs. It's like, you know, grade school. These are adult kids, by the way. These are like full-grown adults, and they're all sitting around a table, and just felt right at home, you know. And I later went on to lead and help them, and just, you know, help them with their assignments and stuff like that. And I went to a camp with them during a couple months after that, and just spent a lot of time with these people. And really, I mean, there's another aspect of people, you know, it doesn't matter what you look like or who you are. Even special needs people with Down syndrome, you know, we're all the same in so many ways. Even though people say, well, technically, you know, mentally we may not be the same, but on many other aspects we are. We're still people. We all still have bones in us. We have blood in us, you know, just organs and stuff like that. So we're all still people, regardless, when it all boils down to it. But I had a lot of great times with them, spent a lot of time with this ministry, and just got to know so many of the faces. I can walk in there to this day, and they just know me immediately as soon as I walk in. So it's great, you know? So I didn't want to make this video so long. I was going to show you some other pictures and probably switch over here to the computer a little bit. These are just some of my childhood pictures, and if you want to, again, ask me more questions, I could talk a little bit more. Maybe I'll make more videos on this. This is my blogging channel. I usually use it for driving around and showing people videos and just things going on in my life, but I wanted to focus on this because of a great friend that, you know, brought it out. She said, your story could maybe help people, and I feel like, you know, that's what I want to do. I'm an optimistic, I'm a very empathetic person, so, you know, I like to help people whatever way I can. So let me just switch over to the computer here for a minute. Okay, so these are some of the pictures of me as a child here. You can see me in the upper left-hand corner there, just standing outside the door and stuff like that as a baby. Of course, you could see, you know, here I am in grade school. This is about the time when I was with that Ronnie, and he was making fun of me and stuff like that. But, you know, I just kept persevering. And this is me a little bit, I think this might have been a couple grades later or something, maybe fourth grade or something like that. And here you see me down here with my family. It's my sister, my brothers, and my mother. And then here's me and my sister later. This is much, much, much later when I was in my 20s, and this is my younger sister. And here's the whole family together. I always liked this photo that we had took it at Olin Mills many, many years ago. And you can kind of see us all together. This is my father, the one who, rescued me when I fell and stuff like that, my stepfather. And my mother's sister. This is my elder sister and my three brothers, or my two brothers. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of share that picture moment with you, So I hope this was encouraging you in some way. If you'd like to know a little bit more about my stories, or if you'd like to share your stories with me, I'd like to hear about them. So I posted on a few of the YouTube pages I saw with some of the younger women that were struggling with this situation. Oh, I wanted to mention that too. While I was at Litchfield Clinic during that time, I met a gal there, and my mom was trying to get me to know her as a friend, and I didn't understand friendships very well then. And she was going through the same procedure. She had, the cleft palate and stuff like that. And I remember she was trying to get me to talk to her, but for some reason I couldn't accept my own, the way I look or whatever, and I just never talked to her, never tried to get to know her. So it was a missed opportunity in my life, I guess. But anyways, yeah, I hope this is inspirational in some way. Just know you all have purpose in every way. Don't let things get you down. Try to see just the good things in life and try to make the most of it. Stay away from negativity and just follow the right people, And if you're a Christian, serve the Lord with all your heart and soul, as it says, So I hope this is helpful to you in some way, and thank you so much, and God bless.